everyone and welcome to Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the things I've been painting for the various games we cover here on the channel. Not as large a showing as normal this time around, haven't had as much time to be painting, and a few of them took a little bit longer than usual because of their size and complexity, at least as far as my skill level is concerned. We've got a little bit of Fallout Wasteland Warfare to start with, a hefty chunk of Batman miniature games, specifically a lot of the Halloween 2021 releases, and then a fair chunk of yet more Empire for Star Wars Legion, troop choice and a leader choice, but we'll talk about that last. As always, we're going to go from left to right, starting with the remainder of the Raiders, Scavers and Psychos box for Modiphius's Fallout Wasteland Warfare. They just actually finished revealing a bunch of upcoming stuff for the game, like Swan. If you've played Fallout 4, you know who Swan is. A gunner faction, the railroad faction, they've got a lot of stuff planned. So anyway, yeah, these basically use the same colours as last time, a mix of snakebite leather, Gilman flesh, Talisar blue, no, that is Ultramarines blue for his hair, it's a little bit darker, Militarum green for his military pants, and liberal amounts of Agras Earthshade over the top, and the snakebite leather for the base as well. A little bit of trouble with some of the contrast sticking to some of these despite cleaning them, but not as bad as some of the other models. A lot of lead belcher silver across all these miniatures as well, for their armour, their swords, and parts of their pipe pistols. She's got Space Wolves Grey for her jeans, and that is not contrast paint used on her hair, that is just Gene Stealer hide, I want to say, with Agras Earthshade over the top. So she's just rocking, I guess that's probably classed as a machete, right? Machete, pipe pistol, he's just using a machete. And then the last guy, whose pose I can't stand. I get that it's mid-swing, it's mid-action pose, like he's swinging down pipe wrench? Yeah, pipe wrench, or Allen screw, whatever it is. He's mid-swing, he's about to crack it down on someone's skull, that's great, but I guess from the side it looks okay, but from the front it looks silly. It looks like he's like gyrating his hips, almost like he's thrusting. So I wasn't keen on this pose. Getting the hands to stay was also quite annoying, but same colours used for his, that is Warp Lightning for his hair, just to stick with the Joker theme I guess, and Wildwood for his gas mask as well. And just some silver for the metal he's standing on, snakebite leather, and then just they're called just Wasteland Tufts by Army Painter, I believe it is, that I use for the Wasteland Warfare bases. So that is that box entirely done, and I can actually preview what I'm probably going to be painting next. I have some Black Friday pickups here to show in lieu of anything else painted, so I actually have 3 boxes here. And here's the first one that's going to get, well, not necessarily in this order, but potentially going to maybe paint up some Mirelurk hatchlings. You get 3 hatchlings and 3 egg clusters, because I think they'll be fun for some themed missions. I picked up some Super Mutant Suiciders, and I love that the 3 minis you get tell a story, because it's like running, getting ready, explodinating. It's like the evolution of a Super Mutant Suicider from life to death. And then I also picked up from the New Vegas wave these Curatrons, and one of them looks like Yes Man, whereas the other one is like the upgraded one with the rocket launchers and like fully activated weapons. They'll be pretty neat. Probably not a super high priority because I'm not really dabbling in the New Vegas stuff in the current Wasteland Warfare playthrough. That might be a season 2 thing. So on to the Batman stuff. I did actually get a different order that I didn't do an unboxing on, that I've been waiting on for a while because of Night Models screwing with third-party retailers. It's back in early August, I believe these were up. The Julie Newmar Catwoman is the first of those I painted up, but there was also the new Green Arrow Rebirth, Black Canary Rebirth, Punchline, which is Joker's new girlfriend, and this Catwoman. I picked this Catwoman first because she is the smallest of the lot of them in terms of base size and also physically, and she's mostly just wearing a black suit, so it's pretty easy. Kind of messed up her face mask, but I didn't want to touch it because I feared making it worse. But Black Templar contrast, Nazdrag yellow for all the golden parts, including the golden cat. She's kind of leaning on the table. I accidentally tilted the table, but I like that she's kind of being cheeky with it, like, oh, it might fall off. It might not, who knows. And that is snakebite leather for the table, and Agras Earthshade over the whole thing. So she goes with the Cesar Romero Joker, the Adam West Batman, Burt Ward, Robin, etc. So we'll have a 60s themed Batman match at some point as best we can, now that Julie Newmar has joined the field. She's still alive, as far as I'm aware. I think it's her and Burt Ward are the only living survivors from the 60s Batman at this point. So next is the actual Black Friday, no sorry, the Halloween releases. The Black Friday releases are shipping soon. They're shipping from the 15th. So these are from Halloween, so it's a very fitting that we start with Red Rain Batman, which is Batman who's been turned into a vampire against his will, and then he kind of has trouble getting into focus because he's moving so fast. But there we go. I tried my best to copy the official art, which does have that kind of weird lighting. Like Night Models, when they do their package shots, they love doing gelled lighting shining on their miniatures. Like the new Freeze stuff has a blue light on them, the Halloween stuff have red lights shining on them. But even ignoring that, they still did do like a tonal shift on the official paint job that looked really nice. So I decided to try and replicate it, right down to the autumn leaves, which are meant for train sets. They're just a train set scenery thing that I found. I was like, okay, yeah, that looks like it kind of comes close. I'll just get some of them. So color wise, Black Templar for Always Cloak, basically all of him except the face. Then when it was dry, I dry brushed some Blood Angels Red onto him, some The Fang, which is kind of like an off blue / grey. It's good for highlighting black, in my opinion, if you dry brush. And then went over all of that with a wash of Null Oil to bring it back down a bit because it was too bright. And I think it led to a pretty decent effect. And I even did some of the red glow on the Wayne grave there, and we turn it around gently. I don't think all these autumn leaves are going to stay on this base, incidentally. I feel like they're going to fall off pretty easy. He's got like, you can see his spine, so the dry brushing picked that up really well. And there's a coffin full of skulls, as you do, which I just put a little bit of blood on just for thematic effect. Looking forward to trying this miniature out, and I love the miniature in general. It was really cool looking, and as much as the lighting makes no sense, I just liked the tonal shifts, and I think it turned out pretty well. Unlike, well, to a certain extent, Catman here, Catman, I have a habit of saying Catman, who, it's okay, it's just not super great. I decided to go with the helmeted, the masked version, because it makes sense that he'd be wearing a mask to hide his identity. Super simple with contrast paint, snakebite leather for his cape, his cowl, his gloves, his boots, the Yandin yellow for his under armour and whatnot, wash over the top. I used a little bit of orange to pick out the claw marks because the paint wasn't sinking into them as well as I would like, because they were raised rather than sunk. So I decided to do that just to make them stand out more, because that's kind of his calling card. I went very simple with his base. There is like a tree stump and a rock. I kind of noticed too late that it was meant to be more detailed than that, so just a Basilicanum Grey with wash with a little bit of brown as well. In the back of his cape there, it is meant to look in tatters. That's not like a miscast. As far as I can tell, it's meant to have these cuts at least, and it's got his claws as well. So he might be appearing soon as well. He's very, very well statted. He's like a really decent Batman statted miniature, but he's limited by the crews he can join. So we'll be seeing him in the future, not necessarily in the same game as him, but at some point in the future. So now the two at the back, I guess. So we'll start with Barbara Gordon, the classic costume Batgirl, who's on one of those chimneys that come out of the ground rather than a building. And she was a bit annoying to put together. The paint job, I can't tell if that's in focus. I think it's getting there. There we go. Paint job I think could definitely have been better here, but it's a little bit of an awkward miniature to paint. The colours are not colours I'm good at working with either, but usual colours I've been talking about: Wildwood and Basilicanum Grey for the chimney with the wash over the top, aggressor shade in this case. A little bit of red for the cans of cola, I guess. For her herself, Basilicanum Grey, Yandin yellow, and Talisar blue for her cape, Griffhound orange for her, of course, trademark red hair. And I think I did like 3 coats, 2 or 3 on the cape, because I didn't like how streaked it looked. I don't mind the like highlighted bits, but it was looking too streaky, so did a couple of layers just to add a bit more definition. I think it was for the best, and it doesn't look terrible, I think, but it's not super great. I used some Black Templar for the grapple line she's firing. Didn't quite get it fitted in where it's supposed to, so it just looks like it's lodged between the 2 chimney stokes, but I just couldn't, because the only anchor points for her are there and then that foot, and I didn't want to test my luck when I was putting her together because she was a little bit flimsy. So we then have the new Nightwing, who I'm also looking forward to seeing on the table. He's got very interesting stats. I never paint my Nightwings as well as I wish I could. It doesn't help that his costume is just like, he's just wearing like a black leotard with some blue, I suppose. Also very interesting to note, I compared the size of this new Nightwing to the most new Nightwing model that that Night Models had before this one, and I posted the comparison on Twitter. And scale creep is a thing. It happens. It can happen for a bunch of reasons, good reasons and bad reasons. But the size difference, especially between this Nightwing and the old Nightwing from 2nd edition, who comes up to about there at best and is like half the size, is pretty ridiculous. Like, this Nightwing would not look out of place in Crisis Protocol. Like, he is the same scale as the characters there. Even if we just compare him to Julie Newmar, there's a distinct scale difference that annoys my OCD, quite frankly. Now, it could be that they want their important characters to look more impressive, like if they're on a bigger base, they're just a larger scale so they stand out more on the battlefield compared to, like, I don't know, your standard henchman. Actually, I have an unpainted 1st edition miniature over here, I think. Yeah, the old Commissioner Gordon, not painted by me for the record. But like, that's the old Commissioner Gordon. If you compare his foot size, for instance, like where his waist starts and where Nightwing's waist starts, there's a difference of like, I don't know, a centimetre. And I've most noticed it with face size. Actually, that isn't too bad, but the old Nightwing's face size to this Nightwing's face size is ridiculous. It is just absolutely ridiculous. And it bothers me, and it depends on the reason it's done. Maybe they want their models to be more detailed, and the larger scale leads to that. Maybe they see the success of Crisis Protocol and want to copy that. Maybe it's an error. I don't know. Either way, I like the model, I just don't like that they're scaling up their special characters. The biggest example of this is going to be the Mr. Freeze stuff, because I'm very curious what scale the henchmen in that are. Are they going to be Julie Newmar scale, since they're on small bases, or are they all going to be scaled like Nightwing? It's harder to tell with Batgirl because she's smaller, but you can definitely tell with like Catman as well, for instance. But this seems like the most obvious one. If you haven't seen the comparison picture I did on Twitter, by all means check it out, of this Nightwing and the old Nightwing. It's pretty ridiculous. I didn't talk about the colours I used for him because there was 2 colours used, Black Templar and Talisar Blue. That's literally it. So last but not least, we have some scouts for Star Wars Legion, for the Glorious Empire. And then we have Orson... I can't remember his name. Krennic? Is Krennic or Krennic? The villain from everybody's favourite Star Wars film, Rogue One. But he's not with them, but he just is something I painted. So I painted up a couple of scouts that are in the like generic pistol pose, same as I've been doing the Stormtroopers, so I don't really need to rehash that. But what's interesting about this box is you get like 7 scouts, so the box isn't finished yet, but nobody ever uses more than 2 or 3 of them. One of them has like a mine laying capacity. I don't think I've ever seen that be used. So what they usually do is ignore all these basic ones to the best of their ability, sometimes maybe bringing one for an ablative wound for the squad. But what they bring is the sniper, I think it's called a DLT 22 or something, sniper, which is this one, who has the maximum possible range in the game and is also apparently moving so fast that the camera can't focus on him. There we go. They bring him, and I believe he gets designated the squad leader if you bring him in a heavy weapon scout squad. And then you bring his spotter, and then that's it. And you just have a bunch of little squads of them instead, because they're the most point efficient and damage output possible for these units. Because the sniper has like Pierce and a bunch of other special roles for like hitting tough targets or targets in cover. Sharpshooter, I think, is the other one he has. Sharpshooter and Pierce. So that's the optimal way to run them. Not that I particularly care about that kind of thing. But that said, it's not a high priority to finish painting the rest of them, I think. The one with the mine laying, and I think 2 more generic. One or 2 more generic. I can't quite remember how many you got in the box. But while I was on a roll painting white armour, I decided why not paint Krennic, whatever his name is. A leader option for the Empire in Star Wars Legion. Pretty basic. Basically how I painted Moon Knight recently. So, Grey Seer base paint, as with everything here today. And then Apothecary White Contrast, which is a middling contrast paint, bordering on bad. And then I didn't do any washes over the top because I was happy enough, because he wears bright white cloth. So I decided not to touch it beyond that. It was enough in this case, I feel. Gilliman Flesh for all skin tones, they're white people. And then a little bit of Skeletal Horde for his hair with a non-oil wash over the top to give it a little bit more, just a hint of greying. And then Black Templar for his belts, gloves, boots and gun. Simple as that. Quick streak of, that is not contrast paint I used for the top hat. Well, maybe it was. I don't quite remember now. I don't think it was for the red. I think I just used Blood Angel's red normal paint for the top row of his pips. But then I did use a quick streak of Talisar blue contrast for the lower. And then non-oil over the top to add a little bit of definition. And then for the bases, I do an undercoating of Snakebite Leather contrast. Then I use the Citadel technical paint that makes it look like cracked sand. And that's the same kind of tufts that I spoke about earlier for the Wasteland Warfare miniatures. So that is another character and another leader option done for an Empire army. For a game I might never play at this point, for the record, but I like the minis and I like the characters, so it's quite fun painting them. And white armor is a challenge, I think, no matter your skill level. But that is going to do it. That is a small amount, but I still managed to end up nattering for quite a while. That model I showed you, the Gordon, is actually part of a job lot I picked up of 1st and 2nd edition Batman miniatures on eBay. There's tons more than what I have sitting on the table. I kind of split them into things I feel I can use and things I feel I can't. So if I give you maybe a sneak peek, if I just raise the camera just a little, oh, that was a little less smooth than I wanted it to be, but you just like come in here. A lot of stuff that's pre-painted. There's a very cool looking Batmobile that is actually just a toy, but they've painted it so it looks really nice. Some unpainted stuff, like for instance the Night Models version of the animated Batman series Batman. A very old Superman model I've never seen existing behind him. Some of the old Titan thugs from the Arkham games. And then over on the right here, we just turn just a little bit, it's the entirety of the Jared Leto cosplayer crew. The old metal ones, but still. So it'll be neat to get them painted up to join Panda Man and actually have the full Jared Leto themed Joker crew to try out eventually. So they're going on the painting table at some point. Not immediately. If we come back down to these lot, I guess we'll just, there we are. So as always, if you want to show me what you've been painting, and feel free, whether it's a game I cover or not, I don't care, I just like seeing painted miniatures. Feel free to at me at GamerEND on Twitter. I link it below the video as well. Next time, well, there's going to be more Batman because I'm currently painting the new Black Canary. There will be potentially some of those old miniatures getting done, some more Star Wars Legion, maybe one of those Fallout boxes I showed you, and I'm waiting at present for the new releases for Crisis Protocol to arrive. My friend in Belgium, I wanted to say Germany, but he's not in Germany, he's in Belgium. He just sent me, which just arrived. We pull out again a little bit. This just arrived, so I'll be doing an unboxing on this eventually. But from Poland, the other new X-Men releases are arriving, so I'm being very patient and not opening this yet, so I can do an unboxing on all three. But I'm very much looking forward to getting these together because I like Gambit, I like Juggernaut, and I like Colossus. So that's something to potentially look out for sure in an unboxing for them if they arrive shortly. I'm hoping in the next few days, but that might be optimistic because it's from Poland. But I will be prioritizing getting those done because I want them on the table. Anyway, that is going to do it. Thank you very much for watching. See you in about 2 weeks or give or take, depending on Christmas stuff, for the next update. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.